Oh, hi. Pretend that I didn't notice you there for a second. Please make yourself comfortable. That's some great timing, because I'd love to tell you about something. A game, a very good game. Bloodborne, the card game. Bloodborne, the card game, is based on the very popular PS4 action RPG Bloodborne. That's some high-quality journalism for you right there. To be more precise, it's based on the so-called Chalice dungeons, procedurally generated levels filled with random monsters which have no bearing on the story of the game, but which help you level up if you need to. You thought I'd do the whole video in front of the chefs, right? Bloodborne, the video game, is pretty cool. It's a fun, grotesque romp through a very memorable Cthulhu-esque world filled with broken faith and lots of blood. The card game, on the other hand, is a very different beast. It's not better to do a disservice to its source material. You get all of the weapons and bosses and cool monsters and stuff that you'd expect, even more so if you had in the Hunter's Nightmare expansion. But playing the game feels very different. While the original is a tough-as-nails action game with a pretty interesting story and some very welcome cooperative options, the card game is just a string of battles between some monsters and a group of hunters, every one of which is pretty happy should the other ones bite the dust. As far as adaptations go, Bloodborne the card game isn't very faithful, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So if Bloodborne the card game isn't a grandiose cooperative dungeon crawler with lots of miniatures and tokens and stuff, what is it then? Well, at its most basic level, it's a simultaneous action selection game with a bit of deck building, more like hand building, some bluffing and double guessing, and a healthy dose of backstabbing thrown into the mix. You have a hand of cards, you want to play the most appropriate card at the most appropriate time. Here, I'll show you. So at the beginning of each turn there's gonna be a monster for you to fight with a certain amount of blood echoes, hit points on. Everyone chooses a card from their hand, places it face down on the table and reveals simultaneously. Some instant stuff will happen and afterwards the monster would attack with its die. Everyone who's still alive after the attack of the monster may take some blood echoes starting from the start player and proceeding in a clockwise order, and if there shouldn't be any left when your turn comes around, tough luck. Blood echoes are victory points at the end of the game, but you can lose them if you die, so you have to play the Hunter Stream to bank them, and when you play the Hunter Stream you get healed and you can take your cards back and you can choose another card for your hand. Look. If you want to know how this game is played, the rulebook is online, there are playthroughs out there, they do a way better job at teaching the game than I do. So knowing all of this, what is it that makes Bloodborne the card game so good? Well, first of all, it's pretty easy to just pick up and play. It's one of those games where you can outline the gist of it and have people figure out how it works on the way. It's also pretty quick, it's no filler material, but you'll be done in an hour or so and there will be hardly any downtime on the way. What there will be are memorable moments and meaningful decisions and inevitable betrayals. You know how it is. But the coolest thing about Bloodborne the card game is that when it comes to special abilities, designer Eric Lang and the expansion's co-designer Christopher Chung get really creative. When it comes to the enemies, I don't get some of the connections between what they could do in the video game and what they can do in the card game, but they are no faceless mobs or stuff. They have real flair, and the weapons are immensely cool. Those are not variations on the starting cards you have that do a bit more damage or so. They have cool abilities, and when you get a new one, you'll be looking forward to using it very soon. But of course, Bloodborne the card game isn't without its flaws. Everyone looking for a highly strategic game should perhaps look again. There's quite a bit of randomness in the game with the damage die rolls and the card effects of other people and stuff. You can strategize all you want. An unlucky roll or a card effect that wasn't even on your radar at this very moment can screw up all of your best laid plans. It also scales a bit problematically. 4 players seems to be the sweet spot. With 3 there's much more control, but the whole metagame is a lot less interesting. With 5, all bets are off. Yeah, the beasts get a single additional hit point, but that hardly matters in the grand scheme of things. All of those numbers work, sure, but that's mostly because the game isn't a finely balanced game to begin with. There's also a boss that changes the game in such a way that it could theoretically go on indefinitely, and another one that introduces player elimination into the game, which might be a problem to some. And this is one of those games where someone could just pull a card at random every single turn and win the game by that. I actually tried that. I played against 2 dummy players who just picked random cards all the time, and it was interesting. They did pretty poorly, but there were some fun moments. So yeah, if the stars align, someone might win the game by just throwing cards down randomly. but I wouldn't hold my breath and wait for this to happen. So yeah, when all is said and done, Bloodborne the card game is a damn fine game, not only for fans of the source material. If you're looking for a fun, quick, dungeon crawling romp with intuitive gameplay and cool card effects left and right and a bit more idiosyncratic flair, have a look at it. It might be worth your time. So anyway, thanks for dropping by and see you next time.